So you may be asking, why would I want to teach letter formations in groups? And as I said before, it kind of goes against what I was saying a minute ago. If there's less time, why are we now going to throw more than one letter at them? Well, the thing is, there is less time. So why wouldn't we make the best use of the time we have and teach letters that have similar motor components at once? We'll get our kids to feel successful and we'll scaffold to teach them one more step. This increases your efficiency because it cuts back on your time. It's time efficient and it helps our kids master the skills because they're practicing the same movements again and again. We're using their previous learning and we're building upon it. And it relies on motor planning and motor memory. And this is a big part of learning how to write. We're going to learn more about that. I'm going to tell a story about two little cheerleaders. And I think this really exemplifies why motor planning is such an important part of learning a new skill. So we have two cheerleaders. On the left, we have Francesca, and on the right, we have Grace. Both of them were so excited to become cheerleaders. They looked up to the big girls on their block and their big sisters, and they wanted to be just like them and learn how to cheer and wear these fun cheerleading costumes and go to all the games. They couldn't wait to get started. So here's what happened. Francesca's mom signed her up, and when she went to practice, on the very first day, she learned a cheer called Victory. She practiced it. She felt okay about it. She felt like she needed a little more practice. So when she went home, she practiced it again and again. She showed her family, her mom. She was so excited. She couldn't wait to go back to cheerleading camp the next day. But when she went back, instead of practicing the cheer she'd learned the day before, like she thought she would, like she couldn't wait to, the coach started off teaching them a brand new cheer. So she spent the second day learning a whole new cheer, and they didn't review the first cheer. And the two cheers really didn't have anything to do with one another. They didn't have the same movements, they didn't have the same words. So Francesca was a little confused. She went home, and on the third day, she went back, and she was hoping to feel better and to feel a little bit more successful with it. But again, her coach taught another brand new cheer. So now Francesca has three cheers in her head, and they're all a little bit jumbled. And she can't really remember the words or the movements that go with any of them consistently. She remembers a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but she doesn't feel successful, and she's not able to do it automatically or quickly or fluidly. Grace, on the other hand, was just as excited as Francesca, couldn't wait, couldn't wait, couldn't wait. And on the first day, she also learned the cheer Victory. She went to a different cheerleading camp and a different cheerleading coach. She learned Victory, and just like Francesca, went home, was so excited, couldn't wait to get started, showed her dad and her big brother her new cheer, and she felt like, I'm a cheerleader, I've got this. And she practiced it again and again. She goes back the second day, and her cheerleading coach sets up the kids and has them practice the cheer from yesterday. They practice it a few times until the kids feel good and they feel ready to move on a little bit. Once they are, the coach teaches them one more step. So they're practicing Victory, and now they're learning one more little step at the end of Victory, and they all feel pretty good about it. On the third day, they practiced day one and day two together and added one more step. So by the end of the third day, Grace felt great. She'd been practicing these same movements over and over and the same words and songs over and over. She was cheering, and she felt successful, and she was doing a great job. So we can say, what does that have to do with handwriting? What it has to do is this. If you confuse them, you will lose them. The reason that Francesca felt upset and couldn't get it down was because she wasn't building on any of the things that she was previously learning. She was learning a new skill each time without practicing the old one. If you want to compare it to handwriting, we could compare it to the old traditional way of teaching a capital A, which is two diagonal lines and a line across, and then a lowercase a, which is a little curve, a line up and a line down. They don't have the same strokes, so they're not the same language, they're not the same size. So when we're talking about where to start, we're not using the same language, and they're not the same strokes, as I said before. So the first letters that she's learning are diagonal, and then the next day, instead of practicing that again and feeling secure about it and mastering it, she's learning a whole new thing by doing lowercase a. On the other hand, if we had taught two letters that were really, really similar, such as, let's say, the letter F, and we learn the letter F, and then the next day, after we practice F a little bit, we add one more stroke at the bottom. Now we've got an E. Our kids are going to feel successful at both letters rather than feeling confused and a little mixed up. Motor planning definitely matters. You might be wondering what motor planning is. Motor planning is the potential to organize and plan out a movement. So you can think about something that you had to learn, something that you motor planned. For me personally, I always go back to this horrible experience I had trying to learn Zumba. So I decided that Zumba was going to be so fun. I wanted to start working out more, but I wanted to work out in a way that was fun and exciting. And I wanted to go with my friends who were all awesome dancers. I never went to dance as a kid, so I didn't have some of those basic moves that the other girls had. But I figured, how hard can it be? Oh my goodness, it was horrible. Everybody in the class had been going again and again and again. So they had tons of practice. But on top of that, they were doing all these moves up, down, over here, swish, swash. I mean, my head was spinning. I felt like I couldn't do anything. And I really felt like a big clod. And it was a little embarrassing, which is silly because, nobody was looking at me. But I was embarrassed and I just felt really frustrated. And I was like, I'm never going back to Zumba. And it stunk because I had bought a whole package, but I never went back because I didn't feel successful at it. And it wasn't fun because I didn't feel successful. We're going to talk about how transfer of learning is also an important part of handwriting. Our goal is for children to transfer the new skill, such as writing a new letter formation correctly, to a natural situation. So if we are teaching them a letter, we want them to then be able to write that letter in class. Or teaching them how to write their name, we want them to be able to write their name in class. It's much easier to transfer learning when motor components are similar. So basically what I just said before, it's easier for a child who has learned the lowercase r to learn lowercase n. They have almost the same movements. It's just one more little hook. So it's building upon previous learning. And this makes a big difference